You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast.
Can Batman survive against Lovecraftian horrors? How's the latest bit of Apex Legends going? Is South Park still funny and relevant? How would you fare playing against TJ in Guilty Gear Strive? Are we looking forward to Diablo 4? And how has Ruby Volume 9 been so far? Guys, we'll be figuring those questions out today and more on our episode of What's New. This is Systematic Geekology. We are the priests to the geeks. Guys, I'm your host, Christian Ashley. I am joined by my two good friends here. Nick, how's it going, Nick?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm okay. A little stumbling over my words, but that's always going to happen with that stutter and lisp. It's just how the world, there we go. Point in case. That's just how things go. Josh, keep this in. No cuts.
It's your brand, bro. It's your brand right now.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. I'm also joined by the one, the only. When God created man, he knew it was not good for man to be alone. So he created woman. He was also knew that man and woman would need a friend. And when that happened, God created TJ, for which we are all grateful. TJ, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm all right. Thanks for asking.
Perfect. Guys, we're going to head into this. We have a lot to discuss. This is going to be a ton of fun, I already know. So we're going to start, as I always do, with our lightning round. I'm going to start with The Last of Us. Those of us who've been following that. TJ, how are you feeling?
Man, it's good, and I'm not really looking forward to season 2.
TJ and I share that same sentiment. I love this ending. It is one of the best in video game history, as well as what they're doing with the TV show that was very faithful to the games in that regard. Loving it. As far as what happens with part 2, like I said before, it's not written with me in mind. So I'm going to try and enjoy it, but I know there are things I won't like. That's okay. I know a lot of people will, because Last of Us 2 sold really well. Nick, you got anything you want to add to our lightning round?
You know, I was telling TJ before we started that I need to get on the Last of Us train because I have failed to get on, but I will get there. I guess The Mandalorian is something that I've been enjoying. I have not watched the latest episode, but every time that show comes on, like everybody else, I get stoked because it's carrying the franchise and it does it well. So,
yeah, those last two, the last three, well, let's say the last two, since we don't spoil anything for you, have been tremendous. And I'll just say for the last episode that just premiered, it went in a direction I did not think it would, and I enjoyed it immensely. TJ, how about you about The Mandalorian?
I haven't caught up.
Okay. Would you like to add anything to the lightning round?
Yeah. If you haven't read Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, Blue Lock, or Dandadan, you're missing out on some great chapters, especially the last one for all 4 of those.
I'll second those as well, guys. Go ahead and... Oh, yeah, I was about to say, just check out the anime if nothing else, and then move to the manga from there. Excellent. Last thing I'm going to bring up will be The Bad Batch. Had a real chill episode last time around. Nothing earth-shattering, well, other than a giant wave. But you know what? That was part of the episode. It was so good. You guys caught up to that one as well? Or are you behind?
I fell so far behind.
I have still not even finished Clone Wars because I am a failure. So
no, you can't say that when you're actively in school and you have a family to care for, Nick.
Bless you, sir.
You know, unlike us single losers here, like who have all the time in the world to do whatever we want, you actually have responsibilities.
Here's the thing: single, ready to mingle, baby. So
there you go.
I should be the one who's a little jealous. Just kidding. My wife, I love her very much, and I love my responsibilities.
Excellent. You guys have anything else you want to add to the lightning round before we head to our main topics for today?
No,
I don't think so.
All right, let's do this. So I'll be starting us off. Recently, DC had animation left us with their last Batman story, which is adapted from Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham, which was written by Mike Mignola, I believe is how you pronounce that. Josh and I had that problem in our comic book catch-up episode the other day. So same guy who wrote Hellboy then wrote this, I believe it's an Elseworlds series that they've adapted into an animated form. Same name, Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. And it shows Bruce Wayne becoming Batman while also dealing with eldritch horrors. Sign me up. This was amazing. Before I go any further, have you guys watched this?
Not yet. It's on the list though.
Also on my list.
I'm saying this is one of the best modern interpretations of the Lovecraft Cthulhu mythos that I've seen in a while. Is it perfect by any stretch of the imagination? No, but it's a fun time. You get to see reimaginings of, Two-Face and Poison Ivy, and even, Green Arrow and Batman coming into this world of just eldritch horror, but also maintaining that superhero special that DC brings. Tons of fun. This is going to, if you haven't figured out when we're rating and reviewing this, it's going to be fairly high on my end. But one of the things I did want to mention is that kind of one of the holdovers we have from Lovecraftian fiction, for those of us more familiar with it, is this idea of that, like the hopelessness of man when it comes to overcoming things that we don't understand. Like, how do we all, as a panel, feel about this idea?
I would like to put all of my money on the indomitable human spirit.
All right, that's one for humans.
I'm kind of, it depends on what day it is, but whether I'm on the human side or the cosmic horror side, but just the fact that that I feel like Batman is a perfect focus when it comes to integrating, Lovecraftian themes and myth and wrestling with that. I think that's super sick. And I actually like hopelessness sometimes is appealing to me. I'm a little bit of a nihilist myself sometimes.
Well, I was not ready for that. I'm going to take the opposite point of anti-nihilism.
I like it. I like it.
That was good, Nick. But one of the things it does in this movie, without giving away spoilers, is it shows Batman coming to the point of the only way he can fight against this horror is to give up a part of himself in a certain way. And I would argue that this film is still, for a cosmic horror story, very optimistic, especially considering, your Lovecraftian stories. I mean, just beyond what the man himself has written, what Stephen King has done as well. Like, every now and then, it's not always going to end well for the regular guy. But what I do think we often forget sometimes while reading these things is that who Lovecraft was. And this was a man who's about as lost as you can be in many different facets of his life. And it's a man who saw no hope in this world. But one of the great things about the public domain is that you can take these things and then reinterpret them in different ways. Now, sometimes it's going to be hit or miss. You don't always have the greatest adaptations of Lovecraft's work. But I feel in this respect, taking a world that is full of hopelessness and then bringing a way it could be hopeful is something people need in this world right now.
Amen.
Yeah.
Just thinking about too of H.P. Lovecraft and hope and kind of redeeming his themes, even Jordan Peele, with his horror and, just the fact that H.P. Lovecraft was a giant racist and how even Jordan Peele has taken those themes and influences and embedded them into his work and kind of done this, kind of Black American triumph in his work. And it's just epic. And we kind of have to thank Lovecraft for that because we wouldn't have Jordan Peele without him.
Yeah, I would say the Lovecraftian mythos is where it's really important to practice separating the artist from the art, because even by the day's standard, he was racist.
Right.
Like, he was ultra racist. He was racist against different white people.
So true.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, as much as I don't like bringing it up, I mean, you look at someone like Martin Luther back in the day when a lot of people were anti-Semitic. This man took it to a whole different level. And this is the person who made us where we are today. Without him, there would be no Protestantism as we know it. So one of the things we have to realize when you grow up is like all your heroes, they're human still.
Yeah.
So you got to take the bad with the good and praise the good, curse the evil.
Yeah.
So another thing that's kind of brought up in the film is this whole idea, without once again going into major spoilers, is the concept of the sins of the fathers affecting the sons. Like, this is obviously a huge trope within culture, but like, is this a biblical concept as well?
I can't
of
quote
God
scripture.
punishing. Do what?
I said I can't quote scripture. I've never read the Bible.
This idea of like God, the father has done this, therefore I'll punish the son as well. Like, is that a biblical concept?
I feel like there's precedent. I just can't remember examples.
I think that where it is in the Bible, I think a lot of that language comes from Old Testament stuff. And I think that the way that a lot of, Christian tradition of interpreting that and, even talking about humans being sinful, literally, biologically coming from Adam, as far as like people procreating and things like that. So I think that's there with, I don't know, for me, I find that to be a misinterpretation of what's happening in scripture, in my opinion. But I think that the sins going to the Father or going to the Son from the Father is definitely influenced by the Christian tradition of that kind of concept transforming and how it's still even alive in our culture, and probably even, like you said, it sounds like it's even alive and well in this Batman movie.
So there's a couple of verses, especially in the Pentateuch, where it brings up the idea of the sins of the fathers inflicting upon even to the third and fourth generation of that parent. But also at the same time, we have a verse in Ezekiel where it says, this is 18:19 through 20. Yet you say, why should not the son suffer for the iniquity of the father? When a son has done what is just and right, and has been careful to observe all my statutes, he shall surely live. The soul who sins shall die. The son shall not suffer for the iniquity of the father, nor the father suffer for the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon himself, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon himself. So I mean, that seems like a contradiction at first if we're not discovering the totality of Scripture, because chances are you have a sinful father, you're probably going to end up a sinful son. I mean, the history of abuse, the cycle of abuse is so pervasive that it's going to keep happening until someone breaks that cycle. And that's what God is talking about here. Like, he'll inflict iniquities upon them for the third and fourth generation if they're still acting in sin. That's not an absolute. But like, your father did this, therefore, even if you're righteous, I'm going to do the same to you. So that's where it stands. You guys have anything you want to add to that before we move on?
No, I love the way you put that. I think especially, we all know the common kind of colloquialism of kind of breaking the cycle. And I think what you're articulating there is definitely what's going on biblically. I think that's awesome, dude.
Perfect. Well, TJ, you've got something you want to tell us about. And what's that?
Man, I would like to take a brief moment to talk about the best Battle Royale game ever created. Masquerade, Blood Rain. I'm just kidding. Apex Legends. Yeah, Christian.
Sorry, I forgot to rate and review like I promised because I'm a hack. So, Batman and Doom that came to Gotham. Gosh, dang it, I cannot speak today. Josh, you better keep this in. I swear, I want people to hear my anguish. Batman, the Doom that came to Gotham is a 9 out of 10. TJ, I'm so sorry for interrupting you like I always do. Continue, my friend. Let me mute myself in penance.
Hey, that's fine. It happens. But Apex Legends, long has it been considered by many to be the best Battle Royale, but longtime fans of the game have kind of felt a little off these past couple of seasons. And it's because of a few things. People don't like the meta. People don't like the balancing of, the guns and things. Things got pretty sniper heavy there for a little while, especially with the new legend added being a sniper herself. Like, her ultimate is just a sniper rifle. She does suck, but Apex Season 16 is, at least in my opinion, by far the best season we've had in modern Apex. And when I say modern, I mean like since Season 10, probably. It is Apex's 4th anniversary as of February, and they're going all out. It's amazing. They've added Team Deathmatch, Control, and Gun Run as permanent modes, which a ton of people have been absolutely clamoring for. Lots of legend rebalancing, gun rebalancing, a new gun for the first time in 5 seasons, maybe 6. The game is fresh. It has literally never been more popular. It is still hitting new peaks on Steam regularly. And if you haven't played it, it's a great time to get into it. They're giving away a few legends, which normally you have to unlock just by playing the game, in honor of the 4th anniversary. And it is a great time. We've got good events, good collection events, especially the one that's running as of this recording. I think it'll be gone by the time it's out, though, so sorry if you missed it, but the reward is just heirloom shards, which is awesome. Usually, you just complete the collection and get whatever they decided you were going to get. But with heirloom shards, you can just get whatever Legends heirloom you want. And it may not be a great way to spend $160, but if you were going to anyway, this event would be the event to do it in.
Man, I have not played Apex probably since the 3rd or 4th season, so it has been forever. And I didn't realize it was still relevant and breaking streaming, like you were talking about, reaching heights on Steam or whatever. And I mean, and especially if they're giving Legends away, I might have to get in here before the season's over.
Oh yeah, for sure. We are about halfway through season 16. Never a better time to get back into it.
Well, speaking of getting into it, like say there was a listener out there who wanted to get into it, how easy is it for them to do that?
Apex is free. Apex is free and on literally all platforms that are, currently supported by their companies. So you got Xbox One, Xbox Series S, Xbox X, PS4, PS5, Switch, PC. You have 3 different options. It's free and it's very accessible.
It's cross-platform too, isn't it?
It is also cross-platform. But if you do go cross-platform with someone on PC, you'll be forced into their PC lobby, it is a different game on PC. Those people move entirely differently. So just be ready for a jump in the skill gap if you're going to play with somebody on PC.
Yeah, what you're saying is that get ready for a butt kicking is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to click heads than it is to aim at heads.
So true.
So TJ, how would you rate this season 16 of Apex Legends right now?
This season is easily a 9 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, Nick, you don't know this, but TJ refuses to grade on a scale of 10 to 10 correctly, and that it is possible to get a 10 out of 10. So
it is.
I think the best I've heard is like a 9.9 something.
There are some things that they could fix that I think would make the game a little better. A lot of people still hate Seer because they don't think he should be able to just see heartbeats for free. I've been maining Seer since season 12, so I disagree with those statements.
Excellent. Well, Nick, you've got yourself a topic as well. How about you go into that for the good people?
So for those who don't know me, I haven't talked about South Park, but I'm a huge South Park fan. Love South Park. I'm into the history of its development, the world building. It's, the metaphysics of South Park. It's ridiculous. And the new season just came out. And it is pretty incredible. So for those of you who don't know, South Park since season 19 has been kind of going through like a roller coaster of good, what people consider bad, etc. And so South Park for the past like 7 seasons has been kind of focused on like serial storytelling, and they originally were kind of episodic. And so they've kind of returned to this episodic approach to episodes, and people have been loving it. I've been loving it. Randy Marsh is the dad of Stan, one of my favorite characters. And he's kind of become the central focus of the show probably in recent years. So one of the episodes, for those who don't know, Randy has moved out to the country. He owns a marijuana farm in Colorado. And one of the latest episodes, he buys a Japanese toilet for his family. It's got warm seats, warm water for the bidet. And he shows it off to all his neighbors and invites them all over so he can brag about his Japanese toilet. So pretty incredible stuff so far in the season.
Yeah, I would do the same thing if I had a Japanese toilet.
Yeah, no doubt. Like there's a part where he invites people over for brunch and he's like, anybody have to use the bathroom? And they're like, no. And he's like, more coffee then. He's trying to get people to use his Japanese toilet.
I mean, like they said, you're basically the Kennedys at that point. You're the richest person around. You got to show it off.
Dude, it's funny that you mentioned the Kennedys because they make it this episode. I'm going to spoil it.
Oh, yeah. Bit. That's why I was.
Oh, yes. Come on. Let's go. Yeah. Dude, ride that Kennedy train. Ride it.
Absolutely. I mean, this season has been. South Park always had its ups and downs. This has been pretty up so far. I'm really enjoying it. I just think of, the most recent episode with the discussion around Chat GPT and like how legitimate is that as a storytelling medium? Is it going to take over the jobs of writers and so on and so forth? But the way they utilize it is for Stan and is it Clyde? Yeah, Clyde. Both their girlfriends are texting them, and they put whatever the girls say into ChatGPT to generate a response, which they send to them. It makes them think they're also clever and emotionally stable and there for them. It's just, I can see people doing that right now, and I bet people are doing it right now.
Oh yeah,
and that's what South Park has always been like, right on the trigger of what's happening in the world. It's one of the great things about their system of we can make an episode within 5 to 6 days and air it because of how we do it. It's such fun. And I say that as someone who, when it first came out, I was in that ultra conservative, anything that is of this nature is evil and I cannot be a part of it. Otherwise I will be seen as glorifying what they're saying. It's like, no. And they made fun of people like me, like at that point in my life all the time, because we look stupid when we say stuff like that. So guys, if you haven't watched South Park, like, go out there, explore it. Eventually I think Joshua and I are going to do an episode on it. We may get more people on that episode too, because there's a lot we can talk about. Nick, what else do you want to talk about?
I just encourage people to go watch South Park the same as you. I participate in Tolkien Academia. Going to plug myself a little bit. I had a recently peer-reviewed article talking about South Park's treatment of Lord of the Rings, and I got it peer-reviewed, and scholars said it was good enough to publish for other academics to read. So there's depth. There is depth there.
Most definitely.
You played the Stick of Truth as a reference.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, they're going to be your episodes that aren't as good. The more, scatological humor-based episodes that I couldn't care less about. But then there's others. There's such a brilliance to them. Even like with this most recent season with Cartman and Cupid Ye, or however the heck they pronounce it in the episode, and his drive towards anti-Semitism, making fun of the way Kanye West is doing it right now. And his breakdown is like, it's not funny that it's happening to him, but it is funny how they work that into their episode to be like, what this man is saying is insane. No person should ever believe this. Like, I'm half surprised they didn't bring up this is what Kanye West actually believes, like they did with the Mormon episode and the Scientology episode.
100%. Yeah. They connect it to mental health too, which is interesting because they even talk about like, we need to take care of people with mental health problems. Like, if you're mentally ill, like, you need to seek help. And you're like, how does South Park simultaneously make fun of Kanye and also say like, please take your meds, we want you to be better?
Yes. Because that's something, he's denied himself that medication this whole time. And it's showing, obviously, because he has a mouthpiece to say a lot of things that other people who are off their meds don't get to say. But because he's such a public figure, it's so awful because of the reach he has when he's not taking a medication he needs to be more well-adjusted. It's a real shame.
Yeah, very true. Old Kanye, please come back to us. Take your meds,
please.
All right.
Use this gospel.
Anything you want to add before we rate and review this season so far?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to go ahead and rate it, though. I'm going to give it, this season, I've just been elated with it. So I'm going to give it 10 Cupid Yees out of 10 Cupid Yees.
Excellent. TJ, have you been watching?
I haven't.
Okay. Then I'll let you reserve judgment for later. I have.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, since it is not finished yet, I will pull a TJ and I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. If this keeps going the way it is, this is a 10 out of 10 season.
Respect.
All right, TJ, you're next up on the docket.
All right. So, fighting games have existed for about 30-ish years now. And I think they've really hit their peak, personally, with Guilty Gear Strive. That is facetious. I do think older games really do hold up. But Guilty Gear Strive is definitely my favorite modern fighting game. And it's still alive. The game's already been out for 2.5 years. And they're still fully committed to balancing and updating the game. We've got Arc Revolution World Tour Finals just happened. And it's usually when they announce some news for their games. They've got a couple active ones. Dragon Ball FighterZ, up until recently, was also an Arc System Works game. But, a little bit more popular than Guilty Gear or DNF Duel. But they've announced the penultimate character for Season 2 Guilty Gear Strive, Bedman, ? Bedman. Almost a returning character, but not actually. If you haven't played and you like fighting games, definitely check it out. It's wacky, it's cool, it's fun. The cast is ridiculous, and it keeps getting more ridiculous. But the big thing, they also teased the final character for Season 2 of Strive, which is That Man, which is a big deal because That Man has been the main antagonist of Guilty Gear for its entire lifespan, except for the very first game. When I think technically it was Justice, but That Man was still behind Justice, so it's still That Man. Anyway.
So
as a playable character for the first time in 25 years.
Dude, so 25 years. So this goes back because my fighting game knowledge kind of stops at Mortal Kombat. So for those, so you're talking about it's ridiculous. So does it fall along the lines of like Mortal Kombat or Clay Fighters, would you say, around that spectrum?
What is Clay Fighters?
Oh, Clay Fighters is also a ridiculous fighting game. Kind of came out on Sega, Genesis back in the day, and kind of had a lifespan probably through N64 and onwards. But they also have random characters. Like they brought Earthworm Jim into it. They have like Booger Man, like a snowman character. So anyway, sounds like you're into fighting games, so you should check it out. But is it ridiculous?
I will be checking out Clay Fighters. It is extremely ridiculous. Bedman is a sentient bed who is protecting a little girl.
So you said the main bad right now is known as That Man. Is that, I know in Japanese media, the trope of not naming someone and referring to him as That Man is something that's been ridiculed for a while. Is that is it making fun of that as a whole concept of we're not going to reveal his name, or is it just is it playing the trope straight?
I probably started off as playing the trope straight. Since then, they've revealed a couple different characters that were just pretending to be That Man. So at this point, I think they're all in making fun of it.
Okay.
But definitely started off sincerely.
Well,
also,
do you main
Season
right
3. Baiken. I've always mained Baiken. It used to be because she was a complex character who could do a lot of wacky things. And she still kind of can, but now it's just too late to switch. Yeah. Strive is the simplest Guilty Gear game. It is the one I recommend starting out with if you've never played like an anime fighter before. There's a lot more movement in anime fighters than most other games. I guess not like arena fighters or 2.5D fighters like Tekken and Soul Calibur. But you're still playing with a whole other axis really because of air dashing, which is a good and fun mechanic. So if you would like to play me, message us on Instagram. And I've just switched to using a fight pad. I got a Snackbox Micro XL. So I'm worse than I am because I'm still learning these new controls. So don't expect a lot. I'm no longer on floor 10. But they also announced Season 3 of Strive, which is great. It is my favorite game right now. I will play it for as long as they support it.
Yeah, don't let him pull shark, you guys. He's pretending to be weak just so he can crush you. This man's going to be at EVO one day and just taking straight money. I mean, look at those guns. You can't see it because this is not a visual medium, but he flexed the guns. He's got it.
I was intimidated.
Yeah. It's hard. Fight stick is hard. But that's all for me. That's all for Guilty Gear Strive. Definitely check it out. If you're just a fan of fighting games, if you're just a fan of cool characters, check it out for sure.
As far as rating and reviewing, how would you go?
All right. Guilty Gear Strive is a pretty good game. It's not quite perfect.
I'm quitting the show.
I would probably give it an honest 9.8 out of 10. There are some things I think could change. Every character has a universal anti-air, which I think is a bit too strong, but that might be because I play Baiken.
Fair and balanced as always. All right, Nick, save us from this.
So I'm going to jump.
What's your next topic?
I'm going to jump right into the realm of video games and ride TJ's coattails and talk about Diablo 4. So my whole life kind of grew up. My dad had a PC back in the early 90s, had the first Warcraft, first Diablo. So I've kind of been a Blizzard baby and still enjoy some of their IPs, even after the whole, FBI scandal and all that jazz. But been a Diablo fan forever. So the first game, amazing. The second game, I think, came out in 99 or 2000. Probably the best one so far. They came out with 3, probably 10, 15 years ago. It's okay. It's not great. It's very simple to approach. It feels like an Avengers movie, kind of like the first one, like the 2012 Avengers movie, very kind of quippy and fun and extraterrestrial and things like that, which is fine. But it doesn't have any of the darkness that Diablo 1 or 2 have, in my opinion. So Diablo 4 is coming out. The beta is open this month. The full release is in June. And it looks like it is returning to some of those darker elements. It's going to be adding a bunch of raid systems in there that Blizzard has obviously been pioneering for a long time. And I think that Diablo is right now where it's at as one of the best IPs to host those sort of systems. So I'm freaking ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
My only experience with Diablo is played a little, and I mean a little, in post-college with some friends of Diablo 3. And I got to say, like, a very interesting world, interesting combat, and the way they use magic. But at the end of the day, the loot system, I was so angry. The whole randomized stuff, it's not for me. And I say that as someone who's completed Neo and Neo 2, which is basically just using the same loot system. It's one of the most infuriating things on the planet. Give me straight. This is exactly what's going to drop from this thing. But you know what? I know a lot of people really swear by it. So I'm happy to see you excited for more.
Me personally, I've become quite the avid Diablo hater recently.
Fair.
We recently lost one of our longtime Apex trio to Diablo 3 as he's preparing for Diablo 4. He won't come back to us. So we miss him, and it's all Diablo's fault.
I apologize on behalf of Diablo 4. Yeah. I'm a randomized loot kind of person, just to actually just save me time. Because if I know I can get loot in a game and can put in the time and hours, I will be on a video game for more time than I should be. And also typing an F in the chat for Apex Trio.
See, here's the thing, though. In Apex, your loot's always random. You don't know what that guy was carrying.
Very true.
Kill him and take what he found.
And, Diablo's going to be more, I think they're doing, which Diablo's also kind of done a online kind of system where people can play and kill each other and take their loot, probably since the first game. But it seems like it's going to be a heavier dose of that. So I'm ready to either get pwned or pwn some noobs and take their hard-earned loot.
Excellent. Now, since it hasn't actually released, why don't we go ahead and rate and review your hype for the coming Diablo 4?
Here's what I'll do. I'll keep it reserved because I'm not going to pre-order. I don't pre-order games anymore. I had a friend of mine who pre-ordered Fallout 76, and obviously look how that turned out for him. Very sad on his behalf. And so I'm going to keep it reserved. Everything with Blizzard and Diablo in the past, Diablo 3 was kind of a disappointment in my life. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Just in case.
6 out of 10 for me.
That's fair. It's a safe option.
Keep it low, and then if it blows my mind, it'll be even better than a 10.
Perfect. Well, I've got the last topic of discussion for tonight, and that is what has been happening in Ruby Volume 9, which is a little about 4 or 5 episodes into this volume. Now, to those who don't know what Ruby is, it was created by a man named Monty and used by Rooster Teeth as one of their premier flagship productions. It takes place in a world far beyond our own called Remnant, where these creatures called Grimm that are formed out of like darkness and stuff like that can attack humanity, and they feed off of negative emotions. So what humanity did was rise up, creating hunter academies for hunters and huntresses to fight back against them and establish civilization. And so people out there, they're all born with innate superpowers. Some people can just move faster than others. Some people can heal. Some people just get stronger if you hit them more. It's a very fun, very fascinating series if you guys haven't checked out RWBY. But right now we're in volume 9, and I have some mixed feelings on what has occurred so far. It is, before I start that, I want to ask you guys, like, what is your familiarity with the RWBY franchise? Do you have any at all?
So I know that they have a crossover with Smite. I also know Smite is a bad game, and I don't like it. And I might know their names. I know for sure one of them is named Yang.
There you go. That's absolutely right. That's one of the core 4.
That's the only one I know for sure. Weiss? Is
Weiss, yep.
W?
Yep. It's
Blair?
RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang.
Blake. See, I was close.
Yeah. And there's also, speaking of DC animated movies, they're about to adapt the crossover story I did not read between the Justice League and the main girls of Team RWBY. So I don't know when that's dropping. But Nick, do you have any familiarity with the RWBY franchise?
Yeah, I had not heard of it until you had sent us the show notes, and then I had talked to you a little bit. So I like have no familiarity, and I added it to my list of nerdy things to look up and check out after we're done recording. So I'm excited. It sounds super rad.
Yeah, basically all volumes are about a movie length. Some are as low as like an hour 30, some are a little 2 hours. Most of them really good. I have opinions on how I think volumes 4 and 5 and 7 and 8 should have been merged into one volume, and I think they were just trying to make more money, but I'm not the one making those decisions as a writer. They can do whatever they want. But one of the things, especially in this season, has been, without going into heavy spoilers, it's like how we deal with grief. Like, obviously you guys haven't watched the show, so I'm not going to ask you about that. But like, what are some good tactics we can use to help ourselves and help others in this regard?
Well, I've always liked to express kindness. I feel like, it helps me personally. Just not getting down, trying to spread more good things, praying.
The kindness thing is huge. Yeah, I think, just even talking to people, in a kind way, I like looking at like the psychology and science of talking to folks and listening to stuff like that. But even just talking to somebody that you normally wouldn't talk to increases the chance for feelings of empathy, cooperation, happiness, that sort of thing. And obviously, being angry or nasty at somebody is going to reinforce someone's negative feelings. And so just that kindness that TJ was talking about, just kind of piggybacking off what he said. And, because we've all been there. We've all experienced grief, whether it was sadness from how someone treated us or something outside forces that have, induced some sort of trauma in our lives. Like, we don't know what's going on in people's lives. And so treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah, both of you very well said in that regard. For me, I always have to kill that concept of wanting to fix things. That's just how I'm wired. And if someone says, hey, I'm going through this, it's affecting me this way, like I wanting to help them. It's like, okay, have you considered doing this? Like, have you talked to this person? And I have to not totally kill, but in that moment, that's not what they need all the time. Most of the time they need someone there to listen, to tell them things will be okay, that you love them, that you're there for them. And I've had to learn over time, that's the proper, well, depending on the situation, that's a better way of dealing with it than coming in, here's my tools. Let's go, fix this. Let's make everything good. It's like, that can be good later on when they're ready to hear those things. So same thing with grief. Like I have lost 3 out of 4 grandparents so far. Thankfully, I have not lost mother and father or siblings or anything like that. But my maternal grandfather, when I was growing up, was one of my heroes. And I loved this man. he and we just clicked. He would take me on adventures in Hendersonville, North Carolina, where they were at. And we'd go gem mining. We'd go to the zoo. We'd go to a nature preserve and just spend time together. And like, we would talk about anything and everything, like topics he didn't know anything about, but because I was so passionate about, he'd listen and he would go up and he would research it. And then I lose him when I was in 10th grade. And I was devastated. And my mother obviously was devastated too. So I didn't know how to respond to her, but I had some really good people in my life who, instead of trying to fix a problem, you're sad, stop being sad. It's like, let's process these feelings. Well, you feel loss because of how much you love him, but also recognize later on, they didn't start with this, but you know, he was a godly man. You know where he's going to be. And wouldn't it be better for him to stop suffering because he had suffered from not a certain form of lymphoma at that time, if I'm remembering correctly. The sands of time kind of ruined my memory, which is already bad to begin with. Leukemia, not lymphoma, leukemia. And like, would you rather him suffering through all that for years to come, or have God take him where there is no more sickness? And like, selfishly, I want him there, but it's better for him to be there with God. So obviously, don't start your conversation with that to someone who just lost a loved one. But along the way, you can give them that as an answer. Guys, anything you want to add?
You know, I had just the way that you're talking about, just talking, you know, you were talking about losing, you said it was your grandfather, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I lost my grandfather too when I was 16, and we were also very close. We always drove places, you know, we played basketball, tennis, you know, all those, you know, we would just do things and just talk about life, and lost him. And so just hearing that and hearing later on, because a similar experience where, you know, you don't have, how good is your emotional processing as a teenager, but later on in life when you can kind of reassess, you know, and kind of recognize the wisdom that your family bestows upon you, and even obviously spiritual life hopefully is growing. You can turn that grief into a type of joy. So thanks for sharing that. That reminded me of my grandfather.
Thank you too. TJ, how about you? Anything you want to add?
I'm named after one of my grandfathers who did pass before I was born. The other one is still kicking. And thankfully, I wasn't named after his real name. I was named after his nickname because his real name was Elbert.
I don't know if I could believe the hype Joshua has made over you this whole time. The greatest co-host in the world named Elbert? Nah, I don't see it.
Not me.
TJ works.
Thank God.
He works in mysterious ways, so we don't make fun of you for your name.
Yeah. I'm thankful every day.
So obviously, I said this is volume 9. Every volume is a season of RWBY. I have a question about like franchises as a whole. Like, how long can a series run before it wears out its welcome?
Depends entirely on how good the series is.
I agree completely.
RWBY maybe should have stopped after 6. So I've heard.
I would say, like I said before, I would have condensed some of the seasons to have not worn out its welcome as much as it did. It definitely, like, I'm still very interested to see them finish it, but I can't tell when that's going to happen. And I see that as a problem. Like, I don't think it should end within the next 2 volumes, but I would like a direction, even though this season right now is basically they're in an Alice in Wonderland kind of situation. And it's very fun, but it just feels like a side mission versus, you know, something that's continuing the story. Maybe that will change later on. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I would like to be proven wrong because, you know, I like enjoying things. So, Nick, you have anything you want to add on this topic?
Yeah, you know, I just agree with all y'all. What y'all said is, you know, shows can even redeem themselves. You know, one of the things South Park after season 20, people arguably were like season 19 during the time they're like, this is South Park's most genius, best season. Season 20 came in, fans did not meet the criteria. People were like, South Park's over, and they've kind of come back, in my opinion. You know, and I think another season of a show, Rick and Morty, I want to say it was 3 or 4. One of those, I want to say maybe 4. I just remember saying, I was like, good Lord. Like, every time you watched it, you just kind of cringed. Some of the jokes didn't hit. But they've, you know, as far as the seasons that have come out since then, 5, I think they're 5 and 6, or is they just on 5? Anybody know off the top of their head for sure?
Well, you remember that discussion we had about nihilism and anti-nihilism?
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't watch Rick and Morty.
Very fair. It is very nihilistic and sad. And like I said, that is something that draws me. And I think they're on season 6. Very funny. The jokes hit, the story, the writing is very good. So it just depends. A show like Walking Dead, which I was a huge fan of, probably should have ended maybe maybe after Negan, maybe before. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Negan's where I dropped it.
Yeah, same.
Like that opening episode, like I felt no hope. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, One Piece.
Yeah, let's talk about something really positive. One Piece is on chapter 1000, and I should know this since I read it. Thank you.
65? 1065?
Yeah, thereabouts. And
still great.
It's been uphill since the beginning. But I think that's when you have one continuous writer who understands the characters he's working with, that really helps for a series like One Piece.
77.
Unfortunately, unfortunately in I think right before Volume 3 released, Montague died. And they had a couple of the writers at Rooster Teeth take over for him. He had left over some notes that they're still using to this day, I'm fairly certain. So there's that whole debate whether how long should a series last after a creator has died. Like he wanted it to be finished, so that's why they're still doing it. So I don't feel like they're taking this and making a zombie franchise out of it.
Yeah, on that note, I don't think Berserk has to end.
And speaking of another series bogged down by nihilism, in my opinion, but that I know a lot of people really love, and I know, TJ, you're foremost among them.
Yeah, Berserk, I don't think has to end. If it doesn't end, honestly, that's thematically appropriate.
Are you getting monthly chapters now, or
not
two
even
times? Okay, so it's whenever the assistant is able to do it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, for those who don't know, the original mangaka of Berserk, Miura, passed away.
Miura.
Thank you. Passed away, and one of his assistants took over in his stead to continue the story using some of the notes that he left behind.
Yeah. I think it's the entire assistant team that's doing it, and they release them when they can. That works for me. But if they feel the need to stop, if they don't have concise enough notes to finish it, that's fine. Hunter x Hunter, though, another long series that hasn't outworn its welcome for me, but plagued down by horrible societal crunch.
Both Berserk and Hunter x Hunter their head writers were afflicted by illness, and that caused a lot of schedule slipping to occur. And Togashi Sensei, being the writer of Hunter x Hunter, has always been one of those meticulous, it has to be done my way kind of scenarios. So he refuses to have someone else draw it for him while he writes the script. So Hunter x Hunter fans and Berserk fans both suffering together. But I think we've beaten a dead horse with this discussion. Let me rate and review this season, this volume of RWBY. So far, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. There's hope for more, for better, but that's about where I'm at. So guys, which of these topics we discussed today would you say would be your top recommendation?
I would say the Resident Evil 4 remake demo, which I didn't mention until just now.
Okay.
So you've played
that, TJ?
Yeah, tell us, because you've played the demo.
Oh yeah, the demo of the very first part of Resident Evil 4 is out, and it's great. The remake's going to be amazing. Yeah, if you're familiar, it goes right up to the part where you get to the village and have to deal with the chainsaw guy.
Yeah, dude, I've been seeing the releases for that. So good.
Yeah, I think it's literally called the chainsaw demo. But get the demo.
All right, Nick, do you have something you want to spontaneously drop on us as well?
You know, I am not harboring any awesome recent nerdy things that we haven't already talked about. So I am terrible at making singular decisions. So things that sounded interesting to me that I'm going to pick both of y'all's recommendations. I think that the two ones that sounded like I need to bump up my list, I'm definitely going to play Apex Season 16 so I can get the free stuff. I love Apex. It's very fun. So that's something I'll probably get to first. And then I love Lovecraftian horror and mixing that in with Batman. So I'm definitely going to do the Doom That Came to Gotham. So I'm pretty stoked to check those out.
Okay. And as for me, I'm going to be choosing South Park from this list.
Hell
guys,
yeah.
Seriously, like, get over how it looks. Get over your sensibilities of stuff being crude and calling people out on both sides of the fence, because it's going to make fun of you, it's going to make fun of me and everyone else, and that's okay. Watch yourself some South Park and have yourself a good time. So guys, thank you again for joining us for these What's New episodes. We love doing them. There's so much we don't get to discuss in our regular episodes that we do get to in these. So It's a ton of fun. Head out to our shop at systematicgeekology.org for more stuff. You see us on the website there. You'll see all of our hosts that were on this episode and other episodes to check out what episodes they've been on. If you want to avoid us, like Joshua mentioned the last time we talked about this, you can do that too. Anytime you see Christian Ashley on this episode, I know I don't have to listen to this. That's all you have to do. And we do it to you for free. So you can avoid me as much as you want. Guys, as well, we have a Discord. You can also join us there to discuss these recent episodes, to discuss the manga, anime, your comics you're reading, what have you. We talked about The Last of Us there as well. Also, on our website, we have an option for you to select future episode topics. We just had one that we're unfortunately not going to be able to get to for a little bit, but it will be on Tron. And I know we got a lot of people who are really interested in doing that one, so thanks for whoever sent that in. It's a really great suggestion, guys. Keep sending in suggestions. We love them. So remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
This was an Anazao Ministries podcast. If you enjoyed this show and would like to learn more about our network, be sure to check out the Anazao Ministries Podcast Network.